Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, once again here to the World Championship Series in Austin, Texas, as we make our way through the round of 16, getting closer and closer to our grand final tomorrow. We will crown ourselves a champion of StarCraft 2 once again. I'm Nathanius, joined on the desk by Pig and Rapid Casting. Rapid, you got a nice bandana. I saw you had a good hat going on. It didn't quite fit over your headset.
Yeah, I didn't calculate the inability of a 10-gallon hat to fit over top a 12-gallon headset that we have on here. But luckily, the bandana does work, and I'm very happy not only to be back in Texas for the first time in a couple of years, but to finally be able to talk like I used to.
Yeah, straight out of Westworld. Hopefully you're having a great day. Pig, does he have no passion for not wearing the hat over the headset is the more important question.
You can hand me the hat. I'll try it on.
Yeah, I think you should give it a go. I mean,
getting a good cringe moment in here, I think, is definitely worth it.
As an Australian,
representation
I'm just more amazed that hats and
He's gorgeous. He's gorgeous, ladies and gentlemen. Can we get a hand for Rapid? He's a beautiful man. There you go. That applause is for you.
I do for esports.
It's because this man loves StarCraft and loves his country.
That's why it is.
And with that being said, we do have more StarCraft to talk about. Got a cool match coming up. Terran versus Protoss. How'd you guys like that first series? Pig, I know you love seeing roaches rip Terran to pieces.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're a comical unit, right? They just kind of vomit acid on everything, and either it works really well or they look really useless. And that series, they looked really, really good. Yeah. You know, that's Cyril in a nutshell, right? We're kind of hoping, I think, for Kelly to pull out something surprising, but it's just hard. Cyril looks better than he ever has, man.
He's so good. And Terran versus Protoss, DnS looked pretty strong. We got to see him on the main stage against Semper yesterday. He absolutely demolished him. And Cyril actually had a compliment for him as well in the interview going up there. Says he expects to potentially go up against him. He thinks he's totally capable of beating HeroMarinE. Do you guys agree, disagree?
You know, I kind of think it's interesting because if you look at it stylistically, DnS yesterday went up against Semper, and I think Semper didn't do anything too crazy to get him out of his comfort zone. And I think HeroMarinE is kind of that same breed of Terran. Definitely HeroMarinE is someone who's got a lot of experience, and recently I'd say we almost criminally undervalue him because he is so consistent as a Terran player in Europe. You know, it's crazy how well HeroMarinE does. But I think DnS is so solid. I'd like to see Gabe pull out some very aggressive, crazy builds. What have we been seeing lately? Factories and starports in the middle of the map and proxied in the corners. I want to see some of that from HeroMarinE.
I would say HeroMarinE, one of the reasons that if you know about him, you do underestimate him is because he actually hasn't been performing very recently. As of last year, he tried and failed to qualify for almost, I think, every WCS event there. And said in an interview with our WCS Austin ticker guy, Wax Angel, the other day, that he just had no confidence in his play. He kept failing, and it really put him in a bad frame of mind. But this year, he feels like it is his year.
All right, let's find out. We can talk a bit more about the matchup, but the players are ready to be introduced on stage. Does HeroMarinE have what it takes to bounce back on the WCS circuit? Sue is about to introduce us to him.
Thank you very much, Nathanius. I brought out my Texas spirit for our second match of the day. Austin, are you guys ready? It's going to be Germany versus France. Please give it up. It is HeroMarinE and DnS.
A fireworks series ahead of us to determine who will go up to either be the amazing upset of the tournament or the next lamb to the slaughter for Cyril, as we have a close match now in DnS and HeroMarinE. Both of these players looking sharp coming into this tournament, but not the players that we've seen take those championships on the big stage. They have a lot of work cut out for them, whichever one wins this. But we still have to get there first. Twitch chat says HeroMarinE is a strong favorite. I mean, he streams all the time. I think most people watching this are like, oh yeah, who's DnS? That's that error I get in my web browser when I can't get to a page, but not today.
Tech support StarCraft right there. You're right. It's great to see HeroMarinE coming out and looking very strong, making it through 3 group stages all the way here to the playoffs. I think going into this, you have to think that he's been looking strong up until this point, but DnS as well did show some good performances yesterday. So I don't know what to predict, but I'd give a slight edge maybe to HeroMarinE.
I'm kind of actually on the other side of the fence. I feel like DnS has had such a slow power up in terms of his performances, and we were kind of for a long time being like, he's really, really good, guys. He's like the next best French player, and every time we'd get to LAN, he wouldn't quite bring it, but he started to bring it. He started to evolve. You look at his rating, it's not just online, but his actual LAN performances. He's outperforming, you know, Petit Drogo and these other French guys that we know so well. And I think DnS is at that point where all this practice is paying off. I think you can see it in the way he carries himself out there as well. You can tell he's a rather fit nerd. He's been working out clearly. He's got that posture, and he's just looking more confident on stage. And there's something about the way a player carries himself before a match, which I think carries through into how they're going to perform throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, DnS did come in looking really strong. We're going to get into that match now, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the World Championship Series. It's time for HeroMarinE versus DnS.
Thank you, Nathanius and the boys at the desk. I'm in control. He's Rotterdam, and this is going to be, hopefully, the first super competitive match. Both these guys are geared up and ready to go, and they want it.
I'm feeling it. I think this is going to be a very fun best of 5 between these two excellent European players as we are hopping into Dreamcatcher for our first map of this series. Spawning on the bottom side of this map, we're looking at the main base of our French Protoss player. It's DnS.
And on the other side of Dreamcatcher, it's my favorite co-commentator from Home Story Cup, the Red Terran, HeroMarinE. That's not him.
I do love that they mentioned the HeroMarinE stream for a little bit, because he has a beauty of a stream. Yes. He can play 25 games in a row against a bunch of people with 6,500 MMR, and guess what? They were all bad, and everything they did made 0 sense, and they should not be able to beat him if it wasn't for a lucky gamble or just a terrible build.
It's kind of the Terran way, though. You know, it's just so gosh darn unlucky out there for these Terran players.
It's really cool to finally see DnS in the top 16 as well, though. He's done it once before, but I agree with everything that Pig said. It's been so long that we've been hyping him up. He was supposed to be the next big Protoss thing, and it just took a little while. But now he's finally here playing a big series against someone that's very tough, but at the same time, you could say, is beatable for a DnS in top shape.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like about both these guys, to be honest with you, Roddy, is it's a very similar story on both sides. HeroMarinE was also the other player that for years people were like, HeroMarine's very good. Yep. But in that German scene, you can get kind of overshadowed quite a bit, and it's no mystery why. Like last year, he didn't qualify. Well, he has to be at a Showtime. He has to be at TLO. Some of these other players that are hogging those few slots and in that space in Europe, specifically Germany. And now here they both are in that top 16, both deserve it of going on, but only one can. And then, oh yeah, by the way, when you do, it's Cyril you'll be facing next. So have fun with that.
Yeah, I don't think either of them is thinking about it too much, because they respect each other, obviously. These are not strangers to each other. They've played each other a lot. DnS is one of these Protoss players that is not a super clean Protoss, but he is very good. He's a little messy, maybe a little similar to a Mana, for instance. When you see Mana play, it doesn't look like you're watching Neep or even Showtime when he's on point, but they are so freaking good in their own way. They do things a little bit different. It's a little bit hectic from time to time, but it does make a lot of sense. Now, HeroMarinE is going to proxy the starport. We're going to keep it close. Wow. Oh, second factory. All right. Okay. Now, I know that DnS is a big fan of the Phoenix. I'm curious to see if he opens up with Oracle here, or if he goes straight Phoenix, which I believe is what he did yesterday against Semper. And I know that DnS loves his Phoenixes.
Yeah, and that would be actually a really good answer to what could be coming up here. We do see Cyclone starting to come out of a first Hellion did show up as well. A lot of times that first Hellion, we saw this yesterday, by the way, if you scout that with the Adept, you can be like, oh no, I need to wall in, I need to kind of close down my space. And all of a sudden, those gateways and pylons at the top of that ramp become ample target for the Cyclones end up showing up, Kevin.
Yeah, I like the fact that HeroMarinE is busting this out in game number 1. It's not something that I would have predicted. I don't think it's something that DnS is expecting at all either. No. But this obviously means that that Cyclone number is going to be a little bit higher. We saw yesterday what Cyclones can do in the first minutes of a game when Kalazur went up against Showtime and pretty much won the game with his first 2 Cyclones.
Very powerful, very tough to get prepared for. Now, that being said, if the Phoenix at least are in a good enough position.
I feel like this is already a tell. If you see one Hellion and the Reaper, at this point DnS should know that something is up, because if it's a straight up Hellion opening, now you can see he's careful with the Oracle. He's like, wait a minute, there should be a mine here. There should either be more Hellions, a single Cyclone. This should not add up. I'd love to see shield batteries immediately. He gets 1. I believe that's in the natural. Can we confirm that real quick? Where's that battery from DnS?
Yep. As it should be, top of the ramp. So as Roddy says, maybe a little bit of a tell here, but this Oracle's getting a lot of fantastic information. Does see kind of low tech, but the reactor over there means high production. It's going to be a lot. So this right here, Roddy, tells me he does not know what's coming.
Nope, exactly. He is completely in the dark. Maybe he's worried about a proxy liberator or something, but he's misreading this quite a bit. Now, obviously, DnS can still hold. There is high ground advantage here, which is nice if you warp in a couple of extra stalkers, but he's going to have to micro in a fantastic way. He's going to have to stutter step quite a bit. That's a lot of SCVs that HeroMarinE is bringing as well, though.
He's going to go for the top of the ramp. It's only just the one Phoenix so far. The Oracle does start to power itself up, and here we go. It's actually a second Oracle showing up right now. Good distance being made by our Protoss player. He's got to go ahead and pull the probes now and just try to throw bodies at this, but there's still so many Marines here, and that Hellion in the back is just chewing through the probes. 12, 13, 15, 16, and so on. Probes dying. The supply advance for HeroMarinE. This might just be too much damage, Roddy.
Yeah, he still has 4 stalkers, though. He's getting another one. He needs to micro in a fantastic way. You need to, oh no, you can't just stand there. You can't eat those shots from those Cyclones. And it was already bad, but now I just feel like it just became a whole lot worse.
Yeah, DnS is down in workers. He's down in army, and maybe he does, you know, quote unquote, clean up this fight, but the damage done is pretty massive.
Good micro there by HeroMarinE, pulling back that Cyclone that was very low on HP, making it so hard for DnS to get these final shots off. Finally, 2 Cyclones do go down, but at the cost of a couple of additional stalkers. A few more probes will most likely fall here in the end.
Yeah.
DnS still does have that Nexus, but being down 16 workers against the Terran, that is a nightmare scenario for a Protoss.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, kind of one of the ways you kind of, if this game does go on, and so the couple of last Marines here looking to get maybe a really salty knife in the back wound here if they kill that Stalker. It's literally just that Stalker, by the way. Go ahead and leave the green health guy. Oh my god. Okay, so it does die, but so like after this you look at it and say, well, what does DnS have? If he had like 7 Phoenix or something, or a Dark Shrine, I'd look at it and say there's the comeback potential, but as it is, like Roddy said, he's got a 3rd Nexus, but that's it. That's all he's got.
You make a valid point there. If this would have been a blink opening, let's say he has double forge spinning already, and 1-1 is about to finish up, you're like, okay, this is really bad, but with 3 Nexus, double forge, I believe in the comeback. Right now for DnS, this just becomes so freaking difficult. These couple Stalkers without blink will really not get much done at all. I mean, they chase down a couple of Marines, that's about it. I have no idea what you do right now if you're DnS. Do you throw down that Twilight? Do you go for a Robo? Do you squeeze out a few more Phoenixes and try to buy time in that way? I feel like every choice is the wrong one, but obviously you got to do something.
I think just because of where he's at right now, he can't go too crazy. So that's why I see the Twilight Council and just a Forge. So you do go into kind of a normal-ish play, and you hope, I mean, that's what that push was all about. He didn't have blink or anything, so there's no hope of doing damage there. He just wanted to sell to HeroMarinE, hey, maybe I'm going to all in on you because of how far behind I am, and in that time, he can catch up. But HeroMarine's having none of it. He's going to take this 3rd. I mean, what? He just knows he did so much damage that if you're all inning, it's like 9 Stalkers. I'm not that worried. Yep,
and obviously since it was a Stargate opening, he doesn't have to worry about a whole bunch of Zealots charging in. And don't forget that going into Zealots is not very tempting when your opponent has 2 factories.
Right.
Because he can produce an insane amount of Widow Mines, and that's obviously not what you want. Now, it is going to be charged, and 5 additional gateways have been warped in. A good old explosion, the gateway, as our friend Johan Mello would say. But this is tough, man. It's double factory already. He can produce so many Widow Mines.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, it was probably a mortal wound that he was dealt, but of the reactions you can have to follow that up, I do like what DnS is doing here. He's going to double down on just the fact of, hey, if HeroMarinE moves out too early thinking there's a kill stroke to be had, and then all of a sudden 9 gateways of stuff kind of clamps down on you, that would be the way you can come back into this. So DnS now adding that Templar Archives and the Robo as well. Maybe a cheeky Warp Prism in the main. That's also a good way for Protoss to get back in the game as well.
I think that's going to be his game plan, right? Try to get 4 or 5 Zealots into the main base and try to buy a lot of time. Now, it is possible. In a situation like this, I wouldn't have hated it if DnS would have gone for Blink Stalkers with Disruptors. I truly feel that's a great comeback way. Because I think Zealots are very good against Terran, don't get me wrong, but I think you need 2 things. A, an upgrade advantage, and B, an economic advantage. And he has neither of those things. And then I'm not sure about Zealots versus Terran.
My only thing, like the Devil's Advocate response to that would be there's a kind of a big, large chunk of time where that composition's pretty bad. But if you can get past that to the like 5, 6 Disruptors and 20 plus Stalkers, yeah, I agree with you, Kevin. But it's going to be neither here nor there as this push does come out. Now, there is a odd gold base being taken. It's so odd, in fact, HeroMarinE's not even going to check for it for right now, but he's going to push out these Marines and tanks.
I love the way that he's sieging up those tanks behind the rocks as well, making it hard for the sentries to drop the force fields. This Terran army is way too powerful for that Protoss army. Now, a couple of Archons are being warped in, as a few probes have gone down somewhere. Not exactly sure how that happened, but with +2 armor on the way, maybe he could knock down the rocks. That is a potential play here. Maybe if HeroMarinE overextends, maybe DnS can just suicide on the rocks.
This position, though, Kevin, he's going to jump on top of this. DnS knows he's got to fight right now. But the tanks behind this just shelling unabated, and now the Bioforce is going to push us back. DnS taps out, and game 1 goes to HeroMarinE.
Good focus fire there in the end as well, because sometimes tanks can be a little bit derpy. If they shoot at Zealots that are on top of your Marines, and suddenly the tanks do more harm than good. But not if your name is HeroMarinE. He was clicking on those sentries and the stalkers, making sure there was no way he could end up losing that battle. I mean, that's a cheeky way to start off game number 1 in a best-of-5. You put some fear in your opponent as well with that proxy factory, and he completely caught DnS off guard, which is weird, because DnS had so much information.
But he was been given some false information, Roddy, too. Like, he sees that Hellion coming out. And by the way, for our viewers at home, I guess, Hellions by themselves in the early game represent so much danger. Like, they can run up the ramp, which of course is something that you're worried about, but almost even more so is a quick shuttle into the main and 4 Hellions get on that mineral line. That's how you can kind of auto lose a game, and very cheaply too. If you're just out of position and they fry up 15 probes, it's very hard to come back from that.
I'd like to point out something as well. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, like, why wouldn't you just get a couple of sentries? If you see those cyclones show up, you're on a ramp, couldn't you just force field them out? Like, theoretically, that kind of stuff works, but what often happens is that you drop your 2 force fields, and then you're out of force fields, and then you miss those stalkers that you could have had.
Yeah.
And it's also very risky because you have a Stargate already that takes a lot of gas, and that means that if you start wiping in a bunch of sentries, you can't use your Stargate anymore. Now, I do always believe in the power of a single sentry. Like, if you would have been able to get 1 Guardian shield, keep that sentry in the back, that changes everything with how fast Cyclones attack. But I do understand that DnS didn't go crazy there and warp in a whole bunch of sentries, because then if you run out of force fields, your army just does nothing.
Yeah, well, it's just a hard gamble. That's the nice thing about that attack, is it comes early enough too that it's not just so simple as having sentries, because those are individual warp-ins off those gateways that you only had 1 or 2 to go with anyways. It's not like he has 9 gateways and 3 base economy. Every warp-in is your, like, big statement on how you're going to hold this off. But HeroMarinE's able to score first blood. A really nice kind of mind trickery game. DnS did what he could to try to get back into that, but wasn't able to get there. We're going to head into game number 2 with the player down here in the lower right-hand side from France. It's our blue Protoss, DnS. Wake up, Austin. This guy needs your love.
And on the left top side of Asset Plant, we're looking at the main base of the man that made it to the semi-finals of WCS Europe Challenger, representing Mousesports. Hailing from Germany, it is HeroMarinE.
And the only guy to take a map off of Serral. Very different tournament. A little bit earlier ago, so, you know, maybe it's a different story here, or maybe not. Maybe Serral actually just destroys absolutely everybody. But we find ourselves here on Asset Plant. This is one of the more, I want to say, Kevin, basic maps in the map pool. Kind of plays out a lot. I mean, it obviously has its own unique dimensions and stuff like that, but for the most part, 3 bases, very takeable. All your strategies are very open here.
Yep. There are a couple of very cool Terran pushes you can make. Obviously, if Protoss does go up to 3 bases in the way you expect them, you can maybe go through the rocks in certain scenarios, if you can force them to expand somewhere else as well. This is obviously a decent map for drops because there's a lot of airspace on the south side, or well, on the north side of DNS's main, and on the south side of HeroMarinE's main. I was talking a little bit with DnS this morning, just chatting him up, seeing how he felt about it. He was kind of confident, but he did say that he feared some of the maps, and Asset Plant is one of them, and Catalyst. Yeah, Catalyst is one of them. Just because everything you just said, it's very straightforward, it's very simple, but HeroMarinE is a very clean Terran. So he has those pushes that hit very fast, and this is one of those maps where the first drop, well, however, you know, HeroMarinE decides to open, whether it's 2 Hellions or 4 Hellions or a Midwine drop or a Liberator follow-up, if he gets a couple of probes, that next attack is going to hit so fast and so hard that it becomes very hard to stop.
That's interesting to mention there. And you had also talked about how DnS is a little bit more of a, you know, fast and loose, kind of dirty, chaotic player. Those are the guys that do look at the game that way, where they say, well, if this very mechanically sound player is able to get a small advantage, for me to get back into it becomes harder. And a little bit those wonky maps, the maps that have some kind of weird aspect to it, plays into that. You can kind of capitalize off that. But it's going to be that Stargate opening. We see this a lot from our Protoss players. It's usually a mix. We did see double Oracle last time. That's not necessarily the go-to. Kevin talked a lot about Phoenix, very strong here.
Yep. It's actually kind of sad that DnS didn't commit a little bit more with his Oracle, right? Because obviously I understand it, because nobody wants to start off a best of 5 with flying your first Oracle into a WCS. We've all been there. It's a terrible feeling. But he showed a lot of respect to a very empty main base of HeroMarinE, which also means that HeroMarinE was gambling a little bit with his opening, because he didn't have that much to deal with the Oracles. Yes, he left the Cyclone at home, but if an Oracle flies in, a single Cyclone, it's going to take a while before it takes down an Oracle. He would have lost 7-8 SCVs in the process.
We do see the starport coming up here, and that had me thinking that maybe we do see that kind of shuttled Hellion maneuver, but instead it's going to be a tech lab.
Wow.
So are we saying Banshee here? I mean, of course it could be a Raven.
I think
but it kind of feels weird to go straight to a Raven. You think Raven?
I think Raven, because DnS is a Stargate player, and I think Cloak Banshees are not very good if they're being revealed. But he does go for it. He fires up the Cloak. Let's see if he actually fires up the Banshee as well. It just seems hard. He can't really hide this. And if you can't hide it, I have a hard time believing that these Cloak Banshees are going to be very successful.
I guess it applies some pressure on the Stargate opening and says you now need to make a pretty quick robo. And the nice thing about Cloaked Banshee is it's not like you're super all in off of it, right? Like it's not this mega terrible path that you took. It slows things down, but Banshees usually get their kills.
He was hiding it at first, but now the Oracle does make its way all the way back into the main base of the Terran player. I like the positioning of the units of HeroMarinE. He was clearly trying to hide that information, but in the end, the Oracle gets what it was looking for. It actually ends up getting a few, maybe 2 SCVs. Yes, it does.
Whoa.
A lot of damage though, but 2 SCVs is still nice.
Yeah, 2 not bad. I think, yep, we just had the Cloak canceled, I believe. And did the Banshee come out?
No, he canceled everything.
I don't think that either, so it's just going to go straight to Liberator. So he does, the idea here, as Rotterdam pointed out, was to have it hidden, which I think we can be a little bit critical of for the reasons Roddy said, where it's like if you're facing Stargate, you're hoping that he sees the spar defense and is like, well, I'm out of here. I can't go any deeper. But of course, DnS is the better player.
This is funny. This is typical DnS, where out of nowhere he suddenly gets a proxy pilot and he's like, you know what? I'm going to attack with 6 Stalkers that don't have Blink and a couple of Stargate units.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean...
Because he's taking a third behind this, so he's selling aggression, but he's actually going macro.
Oh, you could lift that Cyclone as well. That's exactly what he does. That Banshee gets stacked. There is no Cloak anyway. He should be able to get a cancel on this CC quite easily. There is a tank on the way, but it's not out yet. You want to micro... I mean, these Stalkers have a lot of micro potential against these Marines. Just stay away from the tank.
Oh, he's doing such nice damage over here. He's trying to go... He's going to get a cheap Widow Mine there. Gets the Banshee. And now HeroMarinE again is pinned back and worried about like 9 gateways behind this, when in fact what it is a third Nexus.
I like the next Phoenix as well. That Phoenix could potentially deal with the Liberator. I still think DnS can get a lot more done as long as he stays away from the tank. Or maybe he could use that one Phoenix he had on the other side of the map. If it's still alive, yes it is. He could potentially lift the tank. That would actually be a pretty sexy play.
I like... You're dreaming, Roddy. You always look at this and go, how does he end the game right now? That's not his plan. He's just trying to take a third way ahead of the Terran. And this is the scenario you talked about yesterday. I like this. Go ahead and grab your coffee, because these 2 Phoenix are going to be at work for a while.
Eventually, this Liberator will fall, but of course, HeroMarinE is buying time. And most importantly, he was able to finish up that command center. It looked like it was in a lot of trouble, because the tank wasn't even out yet. But that one tank on the high ground truly saved it with a couple of big shots on those Stalkers.
Yep.
And I don't hate it that much for HeroMarinE. Yes, he's down 11, 12 workers. You hate it?
I don't necessarily hate it. It's just that I think DnS is in a very much so superior position, especially where he was last game. No. It's not like the game's over,
yes, Jeff.
But he's going to be mining from this third for a solid like 3 minutes before the Terran player. And it's not even too rare for the Protoss to take their third after the Terran. It's a really good spot for a Protoss.
I get where you're going with it, and obviously, I mean, with that Templar Archives already on the way, eventually we'll get Archons. It's not just Zealots and a couple of wonky AI units. Like, DnS is heading towards a pretty powerful army, but HeroMarinE is going to get a big army out as well. What was that? He just cancelled the Templar Archives?
I think it was a gateway.
No, it was gas. He got gas back, no?
Then it would have been the Templar Archives?
Yep. Can we take a look at the structures tab real quick?
Kind of interesting.
Yeah, he canceled the Templar Archives. All right, he just goes for Immortals then.
I think based off of how many Marines and tanks he saw, he must think he doesn't have time to get to that. Which is kind of weird, because I feel like you need it against Marine tank. You know?
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused.
A couple of storms just vaporize that army, whereas Immortals are really nice. It's not a bad idea, but that can be dealt with, right? Like a big Bioforce buffering for 10 tanks. can do it.
Like, I truly believe in the power of Zealots, Stalkers, Guardian Shield, and a couple of Immortals as well against Terran armies, but that army is always on the clock. At one point, suddenly the Terran army just becomes a little too big, that firepower becomes way too much, as one Oracle does go down against that missile turret.
Not the end of the world. He's got as long as he can keep tagging, that's good. Oh, okay. Double Robo with Robotics Bay.
Does he have double Robo?
I believe he added a second one.
Just a single one.
I'm completely wrong. I don't know.
Maybe he wants to go Colossus in the end, but I mean, that's going to take even longer. Now, DnS goes up to 4 bases.
All right, we're all over the place now.
And that is very ambitious. Because,
like, cancel Templar Archives. I don't have time for it. But a 4th base?
And a Robo Bay?
Time for that.
And look at this army. Positioning is obviously going to be key. It's, like, this army of DnS is very powerful as well, especially if he gets +2 armor.
It's a lot of Protoss.
And he is pushing the army back for a little bit, so he's buying time. Now, what is he going to produce out of that robotics facility? Does he go for a Disruptor, or is it just straight Colossus?
I love the Phoenix picking up the tanks, too, by the way. I think that's what he's kind of posturing for. And we do get a Ghost Academy here. You know, one of the things I guess we can lend to these guys, by the way, Roddy, is they play against each other quite a bit. So maybe he canceled the Templar Archives knowing the HeroMarine's very quick to go into a Ghost Academy, and he didn't feel comfortable with that kind of matchup for right now. Maybe Colossus is in his blind spot a little bit.
No, he is still adding a Templar Archives just a lot later, now when he has 4 bases almost up and running. It's still a questionable cancel, right? Because if you already invest in it, it's expensive, but it's not ultra expensive. Now, the first Ghosts are on the way. This becomes a funny fight, though, because the upgrades of DnS are not as good as they normally are for a Protoss. This was a single forge game for a Protoss, and yes, Zealots, Stalkers, Colossus, they're all very good units until the Terran army reaches a critical mass. And you look at the army supply of HeroMarinE, it's already past 100. And then I truly feel you're gonna need some big damage, man. You really need some Storms, or you need that high Colossus count with superior upgrades, and he doesn't have those things.
Ooh, it's gotta be... I gotta say, HeroMarine's being really bold with this. There are Phoenix out here. There is, as far as he knows, Blink Stalkers. Gotta be careful. Because as Roddy pointed out, he's up there in army supply, but if you just kind of lose two free medevacs for nothing. Zero harassed by HeroMarinE. Let's point that out. DnS has done a great job of posturing as very aggressive, and HeroMarinE has not felt comfortable moving out at all.
Army of HeroMarinE is massive though. Now the Oracles are obviously quite tanky. There's a couple of Ghosts in the mix as well. Widow Mines have landed.
Up the ramp? No, not today. HeroMarine's gonna push him back. The Widow Mines just kind of acted as a bait here. He's going to turn back around and fight again, and HeroMarine's going to kite back to the range of those tanks. DnS giving pursuit. He's thinking about it. He's going to go up this ramp again, but that's just so much bioforce up here. HeroMarinE takes the supply advantage.
Thermal Lens wasn't even on yet. That was a massive Widow Mine hit in the middle of that Protoss army, and the upgrades were just not done. No +1 weapons either for this army of DnS was just not powerful enough. Now he does warp in a lot more Zealots, but +2 weapons finishing up now for HeroMarinE as well. HeroMarinE just put himself in an absolutely fantastic position.
Did he put himself there, or did DnS jump up and down ramps to give it to HeroMarinE? We'll have to talk about that after this. For right now, DnS is parked at his 4 bases. A Dark Shrine's not going to save him here. He's got to deal with this army right now. He's going to clamp down on top of that, but he doesn't have any anti-air for the Liberators. He blinks forward to what? I don't know. There's a good flank, though. Widow Mine's trying to help out a little bit, but the Bioforce protected by that Liberation Zone is going to be too much. GG's called out, and DnS is dead again.
Damn, HeroMarinE takes the 2-0 lead here, where things looked a little bit scary when those Stalkers were being warped in on the other side of the map. And that is a commitment, but he was getting value out of his commitment at first, because I think he made a great point. He was obviously not all in. He is going up to 3 bases. He had a Twilight, he had a Forge. But I also think if you're not truly powering out those upgrades or your tech units, then you need a massive advantage. And the best he ever had was 10 workers, but that's the army that DnS had is just not that good if you don't have an upgrade lead. And he actually fought before he had +1 weapons. Do you know how bad Stalkers are with 0 attack upgrades? They just stand there and they tickle Terran units.
And Thermal Lance, it kind of goes on, Kevin. I mean, it did come down to that engagement, and he retreated and then went back up the ramp. That's something that Protoss almost certainly can never do unless they misjudged and they have like 70 supply advantage. And they're like, oh yeah, I can kill him. That wasn't the case. It was almost an even fight, but DnS just wasn't able to commit. And I'll tell you what, that is the stage. It's the round of 16. Roddy was talking about this before the match. It means so much to these guys. We've been talking about DnS being one of the top players, not quite getting there just yet. Even his own interview talked about how he's starting to get some land results, but not quite capitalizing. And the same is true for HeroMarinE. So that can kind of get to you, but all of a sudden, he's down 0-2, and HeroMarinE looking rock solid. I mean, to his credit, by the way, I loved everything DnS was doing, but it was HeroMarinE kind of getting the worst end of it, but he remained true to his mechanics, Kevin.
And I like the fact that he wasn't stubborn and he didn't feel like, I should really pick up some units in medevacs right now and drop when your opponent has 2 oracles and a bunch of phoenixes. Like, what do you think you're going to achieve? Not much. HeroMarinE knows that. He's just like, my chance here is just to get a good economy going and get a massive army, because Zealots and Stalkers, I can say this 1,000 times, are very powerful against Terran, up to the point where the Terran army becomes really big and Zealots charge forward and they just disappear. And if a Terran player gets past 100 army supply, unless Protoss has far superior upgrades, that always happens, and DnS simply did not have those upgrades.
I'm kind of loving this very subtle thing that we're seeing Terran players start to utilize too, where they put the Widow Mines out in front, and they have the Protoss engage on those as the Bioforce kind of trails them further back. Yes, you lose those Widow Mines, but you get the splash damage in, and of your supply to lose, if it's Widow Mines that the charge is going off on, you're going to get the better end of that deal.
Alrighty, we are hopping into game number 3, and I think that this man is going to be very, very pleased with the spawning locations, because this is as good as it will get for a Protoss player in this matchup. We're looking in the main base of the man that's down 0-2. He needs your support right now. Austin, make some noise for DnS.
And his opponents across the world for this giant 4-player map, the German Red Terran HeroMarinE.
I was talking with DnS this morning as well about Darkness Sanctuary. He's like, yeah, there's no way I'm vetoing it. He's like, even though it's tricky, he said, if it's like horizontal spawns, those Terran pushes, they actually arrive pretty quick and expanding becomes very awkward. He's like, but yeah, obviously if you get cross map, that's the dream. And for the people wonder like, why does it have such a big impact on this map? It's just that in general, Terran needs to pressure the Protoss economy, unless like if Protoss plays with double forge, like we see so often, Terran needs to do economic damage. Doing economic damage on cross-map Darkness Sanctuary is very hard, because your medevac drop that would arrive 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the game on Catalyst is going to arrive a solid 30 seconds later on Darkness Sanctuary, and this is why it's a lot better for Protoss.
And especially with strong Stargate play, you're able to kind of traverse this gigantic map very quickly. You're getting economic damage in. We saw that DnS last game was very committed to getting information with his Oracle and even his Phoenix. Kind of when he wasn't able to do any harass, he was very diligent about having the Phoenix or Oracle get that necessary information. And when you have that kind of stuff on a big map like this, it's all the better.
Let's see if it's Stargate again. I would actually love to see a Twilight opening on this map. I think it's really good, but it seems like it's a Stargate play. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that this is bad at all. It's actually going to be quite good. I actually think HeroMarinE might open up with like 4 Hellions here. And look at that SCV. Is that SCV going to go all the way in? Because if a Hellion drop would potentially be kind of devastating if that goes undetected. But now HeroMarinE is going to scout. He will find his base. He will see that everything is normal. What's it going to be, HeroMarinE? 2 Hellions, 4 Hellions, Cyclones? Let's see.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Hellions is too predictable. I agree with you that it's very strong, and I'd like that, but it's kind of one of those funny Boy Who Cried Wolf things where if you fake Hellion twice, then there's that weird, well, I mean, he's making 2 right now. I'm going to just stop myself. I think you're right.
I think he might make 4 this game, though, right? I think this time he's just going to, it's the YOLO drive-by. You just drive him in and you hope you get a couple of great shots off.
Well, look how big the ramp is of the natural. We get our beautiful observer Kevin here to show us. No, the big one. I mean, you don't wall that off. Not really.
Now, of course, the scouting information is massive. This Adept is going to be able to push a little bit of damage on this one Hellion. There's a good chance it will eventually fall. The next Adept shows up. That's good micro, but DnS, can they take care of the Hellion? Man, HeroMarinE is playing on point as well, eh?
Yeah, he sure is. That's why he's up 2-0, man.
You think he's going to let the chit finish? I think he will, right?
Yeah, he's going to go for a small.
Oh my goodness, what?
He would have let it finish had it lived.
What a start for HeroMarinE.
And 2 Cyclones behind this, so this might be a bit of a push.
Man, that's Adept number 3 already. You're going to have very few units at home to actually deal with these Hellions. That's 3 Adepts that went down. Can we take a look at the natural of DnS?
I think he's...
Is that a full wall?
He is going to wall it.
Yeah, I can't blame him. He has nothing.
Challenge accepted, Jeff. But he weakens up the Hellion, so there is some idea behind that of like, okay, well, they can't harass now, surely, right? Did he actually repair him? Because the one that was in super low health, he repaired him.
I think he sent it home and he was repairing it. So 2 Cyclones at home are going to keep DnS safe for a little bit. Or HeroMarinE against those Oracles. This probe is going to try to wipe in the Nexus and will succeed in doing so. Obviously, we'll pay the price. Now that Wolof is not completed anymore, but Oracles take care of Hellions pretty quickly.
Yeah. The HeroMarinE did not have the heart to commit to that. it's going to fall back. So Stim is coming up behind this, so it will be Bio. Third CC is queued up.
And that's a fast third CC as well. It's like not even 5 minutes into the game, and HeroMarinE is already up and running on Soon 3 orbitals. That's mighty fine. That's pretty much as fast as you're ever going to see it on this level.
Could be that familiarity with DNS, knowing that what DNS wants to do is get away with a really fast third Nexus. So one of the safer counters to that, of course, is just having your own fast third Town Hall structure. And
probably has a lot to do with the spawning positions, right? HeroMarinE scouted. This was cross-map. He's like, any two-base play that I would potentially want to make or any early pressure is just not going to be as powerful. So I may as well play a very economic game. Did the Oracles identify that HeroMarinE is on 3 CCs? I don't think he saw it yet, right? Can we take a look? Nope. But he should probably know if he just looks at the
Well, he's the 3 barracks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be something else, right? It's pretty sure he knows.
Like, it's 5 minutes and 30 seconds and the starport isn't done yet. He's like, yeah, I highly doubt you'll be messing up that much.
He knows.
Yeah.
Almost for sure. Now, DNS, kind of interestingly enough, is going to go Blink first here. Kevin, what do you think about that?
I think it's just for a little bit of map control, get those stalkers out there and buy time with it. I'd really love to see double Forge, especially against a 3CC player. I really feel like, Oracle takes a lot of damage. And first Oracle does go down. How many SCVs did DNS kill this game? Is it like 1 or 2? Man,
that's the one. And that was the one at the beginning that scouted, by the way.
Yep. He opened up with 3 adapts. He opened up with double Oracle, and he's just not finding the openings that you need as a Protoss player. Obviously.
Oh, okay. You might see some Disruptor Stalker here. You were asking for it.
Yeah, he's going for the attack upgrades as well over armor, so that makes sense if you want to play Blink Stalker Disruptor.
All right. Well, these Hellions are going to kind of fall back into their secondary mission of just scouting around. Losing the first Oracle, it does suck. Make no mistake about it. But as long as you keep one alive and keep tagging, getting this information, it's fine. You weren't looking to kill stuff with it anymore at that stage anyways.
I'm a little bit worried if that army just runs to the other side of the map. DNS's army right now is not very powerful.
No medevacs though, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, shield batteries and guardian shield is massive. Now 2 medevacs are making their way towards the other side of the map. Wow, look at that. Resonating glaives. He's going old school, Jeff. He's going Blink Stalker into resonating glaives.
A little bit of the spirit of Lilbo. Exists in every Frenchman, I hear.
All right.
And this is going to betray the fact that the attack is coming this way, so DNS with the aggressive Blink forward is going to think twice about that. Falls back to the ramp, but actually, never mind. Grabs a big chunk of this, gets the stem out. The medevacs aren't here just yet, by the way.
Yeah, and that makes this a somewhat acceptable fight and an acceptable Blink.
He can chase this now, if he wanted to. But he's not gonna.
Will show up. Not too bad for DNS. It could have gone a lot worse. Was perhaps a little. Hey, take care of that.
Hello. There's a rooster in your hen house. There you go. Does get it and does not pursue. I guess there could have been a parade, so he was worried about overcommitting.
So this is where things get feisty over here in this game, because there's a Warp Prism on the way, +2 attack is obviously done. It's safe to say that DNS wants to soon truly start getting massive fights, massive trades. If HeroMarinE decides to pick up, a bunch of buy units and start dropping, even though we do see that second drop on the row away, I think that would be a rough decision, because then it's suddenly going to be very hard to deal with a Prism that warps in 8 adapts, and those adapts are going to bounce from base to base. So let's see what HeroMarinE decides to do. Will he try to be aggressive, or is he going to do the quote-unquote right thing and just stay on his side of the map?
Yeah, that would be the best way to deal with this, is if just HeroMarinE can constantly aggro in the middle. And that's where the Adept thing that you were talking about starts to lose a lot of its strength. Adept's pretty good at fighting, but as you're able to kind of get some splash damage on Widowmine stuff, not as strong. So here we go. HeroMarine's going to push out towards the middle of the map, up a little bit in supply, as Terran often is. War Prism's really going around the wide side, though, so for a big counterattack.
Yeah, 2 Disruptors. I love these Disruptors. This actually makes a lot more sense than Colossus at this point.
Though?
Yeah, they arrive. They build very fast. Now, these Adepts are going to be annoying, because now HeroMarinE cannot pay attention to his push. And don't forget about that Prism. DNS has no need for you to fight this far out. I would say just wait and focus on your harass right now.
Yeah, I'm liking the position for DNS so far. He's buying a little bit of time. I agree with you, Kevin, that there's no reason to fight that far out, but I think what he was really worried about is that fight just whooshing over him. But as you said, they build fast, so 2 Disruptors are already out, and the counterattack's showing up, and there is still some Bioforce kind of parked in between these bases over here.
Let's see.
Losing the War Prism was a huge missed opportunity, by the way, but right now,
he's supply blocked.
HeroMarine's not reacting.
He's waiting. He's like,
Yeah, but HeroMarine's just not even over here. Like, hello. He's like, what a pretty flower.
He's like, nah, never mind.
You know what? He has a strategy. I want to let it play out. I want to see where we're going with this.
Now the first disruptors are out, and obviously ghosts are not great against disruptors. The ghosts are a little bit slow. It's very, very hard to split your ghosts against those Purifier Novas. Liberators are a lot better, and you can immediately see HeroMarinE, he's going to stop producing ghosts for a bit, and he's going to go into 3 Liberators at a time. But DnS is going to shade forward with a few adepts. I do like it if DnS starts being aggressive now. Don't let HeroMarinE, you know, get a 4-base economy going.
Yeah.
Because this is where those disruptors truly shine, and it's so hard to play against it as a Terran player.
I think there's a big drop loaded up just a second ago, but he's going to kind of keep dealing with what's going on over here. Yep. And this is what's got me a little bit worried. Big clash in the middle of the map, by the way. Oh, boy. He blinks forward. Very aggressive blink. There goes the EMPs. Disruptors coming up into the fight now. And HeroMarine's got to back up.
This triple drop in the top side of the map has a lot of potential, obviously. Scan goes down. HeroMarinE knows that this is almost the entire army of DnS. Now, DnS has a whole bunch of adepts, I believe, on the top side of the planetary fortress, and that means he probably doesn't have too many defensive warpins. DnS is going to take a lot of damage, but that planetary is done.
And he's just going to recall back. He takes some losses for it, but he is going to be able to jump on top of that army and absolutely destroy it. Now behind this, you'll notice a pretty big supply advance for HeroMarinE starting to widen the gap. It's mostly in workers, by the way, which is kind of weird because DnS hasn't taken that much harass. He's on 4 base, but he's down in workers by a lot.
Yeah,
well, he did just lose 22, I guess.
Yep, this is the drop, and that one drop that was supposed to be taken care of, he actually picked up a couple of buy units. He gets 5 or 6 additional. Now these adepts are having a good time, but look at HeroMarinE. He's running to the other side of the map, and if the Liberators can get in a good position, then obviously this becomes troublesome for DnS.
My God.
He took so much economic damage.
Okay, he's going to fight in the middle of this. He does get a couple of good shots off. He's retreating.
Wow.
But he's losing some disruptors for it. Just the one dies so far, actually. And some pretty decent connections. Finally, the drop in the main gets cleaned up.
Where are the Liberators, Jeff?
There. Oh, okay. I thought the timing was about to be the sickest thing ever. It's like, where's the Oracle? No, and that's the one, Mark. The 2 Liberators are back at home. And this warp prison, by the way,
let's put him behind the mineral line, DnS.
It's been just chucking out these adepts, and they've shut down the 3rd. They're harassing that 4th now. But I went from loving DnS's position to being really concerned for him, Kevin.
Yeah, he lost so many probes. He's still down in workers. This is not a good place to be. I do like that he's finally putting those adepts behind the mineral line.
Oh, my God.
He got a couple of
got hit by the canister rifle really hard.
What's the stalker count for DnS at this point? It's not that high, is it? 12 stalkers against 7 Liberators. That's not a very fun position to be in.
Not a very fun position, no. He's able to kite back with these disruptors, still not hitting mega connections. One ghost getting really ambitious here. But my problem, and to your point, is where does he go from here? It's just adding more stalkers and more disruptors.
I think there's a Liberator harassing this base on the left as well, as there was a decent Purify Nova here. DnS ends up losing more probes, and he cannot afford this, Jeff. He's down below 60 probes. You just don't want to be there as a Protoss if you're nowhere near being maxed out. Look at HeroMarinE. He's maxed out. His macro is fantastic. He could put are those Widow Mines as well?
Yes, they are. And he's just thinking about it. Or maybe Marauders, but no, it's Widow Mines.
Oh, close your eyes, Jeff.
GG. I can't look at this.
No, me neither. He's going to pick up all of his buy units as well.
And that's fighting under Liberators.
Yeah, well, they're very exposed now. Blink forward. That's exactly what DnS does. DnS might be able to push this army away, but the economic damage that the French Protoss has been taking
he's in his 3rd right now. That's the thing about this right now. Our poor observer is having to be in 1,000 places at once because HeroMarinE is all over the place. There's a flanking force. Medevacs don't care, going to show up. And as Roddy said, any economic damage at this point in time is just so critical. And neither army really gets cleaned up entirely.
Look at Big Abe. He's just coming back with those Marauders now from the south side. He's winning this fight in the 3rd base as well. He tries folks. Oh, you're going to give up your own adepts, DnS. He gets just a couple of his own units there. In the end, DnS seems like he's sort of cleaning this up, but HeroMarine's economy is completely untouched. He's producing way more units. That's a risky pickup, by the way.
There's no stalkers here. They're back dealing with something else.
Look at the sentries.
HeroMarinE is putting on a clinic. He looks so good.
He's playing very fast, still producing 4 Liberators at once, and DnS is just not able to deal the same amount of economic damage that HeroMarinE did. I think HeroMarinE killed close to 50 probes in this game at this point, while DnS has killed 29 SCVs. I mean, normally it's the other way around that you see these numbers.
Absolutely amazing. Liberators are going to be caught out of position here a little bit in the middle of the map. I didn't expect DnS to want to try to turn this around.
Oh, that's 3 Liberators. He gets 4, and he gets the Medevacs as well. That's pretty massive, Jeff.
Yeah,
that's 5 expensive units. He could shoot with one of his disruptors.
Oh, okay. Nice. Good connections there. If he can get a lot more of that going. I mean, that's the thing about this composition. Roddy talked about it in a previous game, but one of the comeback compositions you can have is Stalkers, but the positioning is so good. HeroMarinE is everywhere. DnS is not. You can have this strong army. I don't care. I'm going to kill your economy behind this. And here comes everything Terran. We're fighting inside Liberation Zone. Now kiting backwards, doing a pretty good job, but he just doesn't have anything behind this, Roddy.
It almost feels like this is an all-in for DnS, and he did get a couple of magical shots there. Can he finally clean this up? He warped. Well, that's a lot of Stalkers. So forward blink, take care of those medevacs with the shield battery here. He should be fine. If DnS can keep the pressure on, I know he's still down economically, and if this game goes on for 10 more minutes, this DnS will never win it. But maybe with this push, if he gets a few more Stalkers...
I feel like he can't kill a planetary. And the 4th and 5th base is planetary fortresses. I mean, that's a big warp-in, though. Where did that even come?
Yeah, he had a little bit of money saved up.
That's the money.
I mean, the army supply is even. He's going to get a few more Liberators here. Perhaps go on, folks, fight on Liberators. Oh, he just killed his own Disruptor. Did you see that?
No, I can't look, Kevin. You're doing this whole cast with your eyes open. I'm not. Now he's down to 1 Disruptor, and this army goes from a lion to a cub. It's a bunch of Stalkers. It's just not very good.
Well, is it though?
Is it though?
I think it's pretty good, Jeff.
Cubs still scratch. They can still scratch you. That's what I was building up to, Kevin.
HeroMarinE has only 43 army supply. He lost all his Liberators and Medevacs before. He has no Medevacs.
I don't believe, Kevin. Not yet.
You don't believe yet?
Not yet.
I actually think DnS is doing this, Jeff.
No, I don't believe.
There's no Medevacs. Okay, I don't like that blink. Get away from the planetary.
Well, good force fields.
You still don't believe?
This Cub's got some sharp claws here.
What's in the middle of the map? Are those all Stalkers? Yep, he was just blinking as well.
He can pull SCVs, and they're a problem right now, right?
Yeah, okay, he did lose all his Disruptors, and that is very problematic.
Here comes those are Marauders, by the way, right?
Yep.
Those are mini Liberators, and that is it. The SCVs get pulled, the Bioforce pushed back. Supply advantage swiftly in favor of HeroMarinE.
DnS had so much money as well. He wasn't really reinforcing properly. Now he's going to rebuild his 4th base. But the fact that he lost all his Disruptors, like, it was tough there for HeroMarinE. But in the end, I mean, now still with those 5 bases, Jeff, I think you were right all along.
Well, a lot of people will find out that a lot of what I've said.
Look at DnS's money. If he would have had a Prism during all of that, if we would have just been able to keep like 2 Disruptors alive, he was close to doing it there. I really think he was very close.
He's rebuilding that composition, and it was giving HeroMarinE fits, right? Like, there's 2 Disruptors out. I think 2 more are coming over here. A couple of big connections. And the lack of medevacs is something you pointed out. It's, of course, there are some now, but when a Terran doesn't have, like, the cloud of 10 over their bio army, it's just a very different animal, so...
Look at the minimap now. The amount of units that HeroMarinE is suddenly producing because he's still... That is one hell of a Terran parade if I've ever seen one.
It's like the Ant Simulator game. He left breadcrumbs over here. He's like, well, we're going to go collect them. This harass, though, has been the difference for HeroMarinE.
I just love how HeroMarinE is using 3 Marines to pull the entire army out of position. And then he's like, yeah, about that 4th base, let me just get another cancel on top of it.
Forget about it. Not even, well, he does get the cancel there, actually. There's the disrupt shots.
Wow.
One just goes right past everybody.
Yep.
Pretty good connections, but he's just getting outlasted. DnS falling in supply. That's it. GG's called, and HeroMarinE completes the sweep. Wow.
If you win cross-map Darkness Sanctuary against the Protoss, you truly deserve it. One hell of a series by our German Terran player. It's representing Cologne. All his fans in Cologne are always watching. Great performance, great series by HeroMarinE. He really looks on point. He has taken his gameplay to a whole another level in the last few months.
Good streamer, good tournament player. As Pig pointed out, he's been working out as well. What does this guy not do at the highest of levels? Well, we're going to have to find out as we go to the stage with Smix and HeroMarinE.
Thank you very much, In Control. Congratulations, HeroMarinE. You're moving on to the round of 8. I believe WCS Summer 2016 was the last time that you were in the quarterfinals. So how much does it mean to you to finally be back in that top 8?
Compared to last year, I changed a little bit of my goals. This year, I want to qualify for BlizzCon. So I try to do as well as I can. And top 8 is obviously the main goal for every event. And to make it this fun, this event is very important for that goal.
Well, you were truly impressive in this series. It was a 3-0. I want to talk about Darkness Sanctuary in particular, as that was the one game where it did look like DnS could take it at some point. So can you walk us through the flow of that entire game?
I was hoping to not get cross positions against Protoss. It's hard to kill them on cross, and I like to play very aggressively. The early game went really well, and because of that I felt confident. Then I saw the Disruptors, and it got a little bit out of control, but I think I played a very good game there, and I also think he didn't play like he normally does.
Well, now you will be moving on to the quarterfinals, and I saw that you recently stated that you're feeling way more confident this year, especially compared to last year. That being said, you're facing Cyril next in that round of 8, so what is your mindset right now?
Cyril is obviously by far the strongest player here. Everybody is saying it, and I mean, I took a map off him in Challenger. This time, I think I can take 2 maps, but I don't think I'm ready to take him on like a best of 5 to win the entire series. We'll see, though.
We'll see, indeed. Best of luck in that quarterfinal match. Nathaniel, let's head back to you and the boys.
Thank you very much, Smix. HeroMarinE advances on with a crushing victory over DnS, who put his best foot forward. But gentlemen, those great balls of fire from the Disruptors were not enough to clean up this German man's passion.
Yeah, when you put your best foot forward, you also have to then put your best foot back, and then your other foot. I know how to do that dance. And so does HeroMarinE. He reprises his 2-0 victory over DnS from WCS Challenger EU and comes back with one more win this time around to advance on through. And I really have to, think that this gives him a lot of momentum going forward. The only man to take a game off of Cyril in Challenger. Can he do it again? A few more times.
Can he though, Pig? Can he though?
I'm hoping so. I mean, I think he stays calm up there, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't get tilted. He goes confident against Cyril. Often kind of tweets what he thinks he could have done better after his series as well and that sort of stuff. So I always feel like HeroMarinE, he doesn't look at Cyril as this insurmountable beast. He definitely just goes out there and he's like, yeah, bring out some nice mech timings. He's capable of mixing in some bio as well, but definitely going to pile the pressure on Cyril, see if he can crack through the fin.
Yeah, it's interesting to think how terrified everybody at this tournament seems to be of Cyril. He is so good. He is the #1 player right now. He is the player to beat. And I think that's the only approach you can take to it, right? If you're HeroMarinE, it's like getting worked up over it. It's like, he's the best guy. If you beat Cyril here, you are the contender to take the tournament, especially in this top half of the bracket when you know that players like, the other big guy, Neeb, is on the other side.
Exactly. I mean, HeroMarine's been competing since he was so young. He's got so much experience now on these big stages since he was a young little 14-year-old or so. And yeah, nice bracket going forward there as well.
Yep, we have, of course, that first quarterfinal set. Next up, we've got 2 Zerg versus Zergs for you, as True will take on Lambo and Scarlet. Nerchio, Americans, get your NA hopes up as we move forward here. Any of these matches stand out to you guys? Anything else you want to say about that last series?
Are you excited to see True? I'm excited to see True get down and dirty with Lambo.
I just want to know which True comes out here, because not only is this a ZVZ, which can already be crazy, but True's ZVZs specifically are just non-stop action. I love to see this guy. He plays like he's playing with co-op Zerglings. Like, they just do different things than everybody else's. So it's going to be a great way to start our very long series of ZVZs. There's going to be quite a few of them.
Yeah. We, of course, have the schedule for you so you can keep track of those matches. We are just moving on down the bracket. True and Lambo, Scarlet Nerchio. Then we get to the bottom half, and Neeb will face off against Mana. Then we get Stefano versus Snoot. I think that's another match a lot of people are looking forward to. ZVZ between 2 of the most popular Zergs.
Yeah.
Must be jonesing for it, Pig.
It's going to be exciting. It's kind of like that, what was that James Bond movie where he's going through the little maze and it's like the room of mirrors and stuff? It's kind of what today's bracket is like. We got a lot of Zerg versus Zerg, a bit of Protoss versus Protoss. There's going to be a lot of those mirror matchups. And I mean, I think it's kind of nice because it kind of filters down some of the race uniformity. So by the time we get to the top 8 tomorrow, it's going to definitely be a lot more variety, a lot more spice there. But I mean, Zerg versus Zerg in Legacy of the Void, it's not just roaches headbutting into each other. I was one of the few guys, I think, who really enjoyed Heart of the Swarm Zerg versus Zerg, and even I'm like, Legacy's so much more dynamic, man.
Yeah.
There's more Mutalisk swaps, there's more kind of weird late game scenarios with like lurkers, and then they're getting abducted out of the ground by Vipers, and people going into Ultras and stuff. Like, it's just a lot of crazy things that can happen.
We'll be diving a lot more into Zerg versus Zerg and more coming up here at the World Championship Series as we get ready for our next match. We'll be right back with another ZVZ.
Dad,